for Ayuna. Just then, one of Leah's twins began to cry. Leah released her hold on Upik. "I'll come help with the body as soon as Helena returns to watch the children." Upik nodded. "I need to tell Emma and Bjorn." Leah knew the missionaries would be devastated to learn of Ayuna's passing. The old woman was greatly loved by the people of the village, and her loss would be sorely felt for years to come. Upik departed as Wills joined his sister, Mary, in crying for attention. "Poor babies," Leah said, walking to the homemade crib her children shared. Both were soaking wet and in need of a warm bath and fresh diapers. Leah already had hot water on the stove and, despite her children's miserable howls, went in pursuit of the copper bathtub and towels. She knew she was more fortunate than most in the area. The new house she and her husband had ordered from the States had arrived in pieces last year. When Jacob and Jace failed to return from their summer mission to explore the Arctic coast and islands, Bjorn Shellman had organized men to build the house in Jace's absence. The Swedish man of God knew no lack of enthusiasm for helping his fellow man, and because Leah and Jacob were much loved in the community, help was readily available to see Leah and her children properly housed for the winter. It was Bjorn, in fact, who had helped them figure a way to assemble the foundation on a system of stilt-like supports to keep the permafrost from melting and sinking the house. The house had settled some, but Bjorn assured Leah it would be fairly easy to remedy each year by adding or subtracting wedges under the house. All of this would hopefully keep the structure of the new home stable. Once completed, their house brought the natives visiting in throngs. Everyone wanted to experience the store-bought house. They laughed at the way it sat up off the ground. Their innas were built into the earth in order to provide insulation and protection from the wind. The fact that they flooded out each summer seemed insignificant. They were a nomadic people during the warm season anyway. It was the one thing Leah had never quite gotten used to in all her years on the Seward Peninsula. She longed for stability, consistency, and a sense of permanency. None of that could be had when a person constantly traveled. Leah poured hot water into the tub, then added a measure of cold water until the temperature felt just right. With this accomplished, she threw a few more pieces of driftwood into the stove. Although it was finally May and spring breakup had begun, the air outside could be quite cold and could chill the house. She wanted nothing to threaten the health of her children, and therefore kept the dwelling as warm as possible to afford them every benefit. The North wasn't kind to those who were weaker. Children and the elderly often suffered the most. Leah thought again of Ayuna. How strange it would be not to have her around to talk to. Ayuna had taught Leah so many things that no doubt had kept her alive over the years. With the water ready, Leah went to the twins' bedroom and noted that their tears had stopped. They were now quite caught up in playing with the sheet on their homemade mattress. "Come, babies," Leah said softly. She opened her arms and smiled. The twins eagerly pulled themselves up and balanced their walks by holding onto the railing of the crib. Leah could hardly wait until they could toddle on their own, yet she also feared that time. One baby would be hard enough to keep up with. She feared two would be nearly impossible. She lifted her children in unison and made her way back to the kitchen, where the copper tub waited. Placing them on the table, Leah talked and cooed while undressing first one and then the other. The children seemed captivated by her voice, and it never failed to thrill Leah to realize they were her own flesh and blood. Of course, in the back of her mind, she still felt haunted by the uncertainty about their parentage. Her husband was always good to assure her that such things didn't matter, but to Leah it was an ominous rain cloud that hung over her otherwise perfect party. Looking at the twins, Leah couldn't imagine that anything so perfect might be the result of a hideous rape. There was simply too much joy and love to be had from these precious gifts from God. She sighed, unable to free herself from the memories of Jace's brother, Chase. The man had ruined her life in so many ways. But despite his assault on her and his subsequent death, Leah fought to retain a hopeful future for her children. She couldn't let Chase's destruction